How have you been?
Really great. Summer is definitely my season.
For
So
sure.
just enjoying this as much as possible. How about you?
Same. Summer is like my season as well into fall, but it's the warmer weather, it's the sun shining, and like the natural light coming through my windows into my treatment room. I just
Yes.
thrive on it, and people are out and about more. And it's definitely a busy season in my treatment room. But it's also a busy season for me personally and with my family too. So it's a lot, but in a good way for sure.
Yeah, the days I just try to be really mindful of not working off days, but those my work days are definitely jam-packed this season.
It is so hard when you're like your cup runneth over with clients and then others are trying to get in or last minute. It's really hard to say no sometimes. And I mean, we didn't even set this conversation up to lead into what our conversation was about culture. But I think a big part of culture is also when to say no to protect yourself as well. So maybe I'll pause and begin here for a moment. And we might have a few people join in. And then, of course, anybody will watch this on replay. But we're going to have a quick conversation on, I think we named it the power of protecting your practice culture. But it's funny because this conversation came about, if you remember, Angela, we were just chit chatting on Marco Polo or even on the phone and just about the culture of our practices and what's happening on the inside. That we are really intentionable. Is that a word? Did I use that word right?
I think it's intentional. I like the
Intentional. Where did the
added
come from? I have no idea. Um, but to be intentional about the practices that we're building because we are both creating and we have been creating something that is unique to us and something that's so important to us that we want to love coming to every single day because as entrepreneurs we're not a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Like our heart and soul, sweat and tears are here all the time. And so to build an intentional culture is so important. And I think I remember throwing out, we should have a conversation. We should have a community conversation about this. So
Yeah, just what you said about it being our heart and our soul. Like the business is not separate from me. It's one of my children. And I know that maybe that is not like boss lady thinking. I don't ever really want to do anything like franchise or sell big or anything like that. So that like my work is my other home. Like my family knows that. Everyone I work with is friends. And I think because we're there so often when like it needs to be that for us.
yes. And when we create that and establish that, it's really going to call in the right people to work with you if you're an establishment that you want to have people work with you. But I think it's important to note that a culture is not just for like large companies, right? You can be a solo practitioner and it's important to establish what your culture is. If nobody will ever work with you, it's still the vibe, so to speak, on what people feel, what they experience, what they come to trust in your solo business. But then, of course, it is for small businesses, and I think larger companies are known to have it. But it's not just for the large box spas. It's what, how would I define it? It's what I tolerate. It's what I would reward. It's what I normalize. It's how people feel when they come into my space, how people feel when they leave. And I think trust for me is the biggest part of culture. And what I mean by that is what do my clients come to know and trust me for when they come into my establishment?
And I think one of the things that we talk about a lot within the HSA is having a good understanding of your own internal compass, because that's going to make all of your choices in business so much easier. And I think it's the same with what you're saying. And even a solo practitioner needs to think about their culture and understand what their culture is, because that's going to make everything so much easier. The education you choose, the people you collaborate with, the lines you do business with, your clients. So even though it might seem funny when it's only you, I think a lot of times we just are who we are. But when you boil it down to culture, like you just said, trust, what do I reward? What do I not tolerate? I think it does make it a lot more clear to yourself and to, like you said, everyone that comes into your space or works with you.
Think for the longest time, I knew what my values were and I knew I'll call it the vibe, a vibe that I wanted to achieve, but I never looked at it as establishing a culture. And it took me a good number of years. It actually, for me, took me to outline it and really identify it and make it tangible. What it was coming into a practice where I had more than just myself. And I can't be the only independent that, well, I have a whole foundation course on this, and that's not the topic, but on how to set your business up, because as an independent, we just kind of flow in and flow out, and this is working and that doesn't work, but we're not really outlining and establishing things. So when I moved into a resort setting with 4 rooms and really purposed having others join me, that's when I was like, oh, I want to protect what I'm building here and what I'm known for. And I started with values. Is that how you kind of established your culture, or what has been your process?
I mean, I would agree with you that it was once I got into a situation with multiple practitioners. I have had, I have had other practitioners working in my treatment room in the past, but this is my first time where this is like a large space, multiple practitioners, and so many different clients. Um, so I definitely agree that it was very like, this works, this doesn't work. Oh, I actually will not work with this person again. Spoiler, it's a Capricorn. And then figuring out from there, like, one thing that I think I do value, it's not like a hard no for me, but I think I do value working with other mothers. I I know that sounds strange, but I feel like our ability to juggle multiple things and kind of go with the flow of scheduling like only mothers and independent practitioners can handle. And they always, kind of know how to put on a happy face when you need to, right? And get the dirty work done when you need to.
Yes.
And so I think that obviously there's always exceptions, but I will say I think that's something I do. I'll give them a little yes in the box on that one.
Yeah, I think that, only just speaking on the moms thing, I think it takes a mom to fully understand all of the layering of scheduling and tasks that need to be done on our personal level, and how we still need to show up for our businesses and put on that happy face. As you said, sometimes you just left maybe 2 crying kids at daycare and you're like dying on the inside, but you need to show up your best self still. And you can intellectually understand it, but you don't feel it and know it until you're a mom. So that definitely does make sense. For me, one of the bigger things I'm looking for is like a no drama. I don't even want a sprinkling of it inside of my place of work, right? So I kind of I try at least to fish it out of people when I'm interviewing. And I have the most casual interview. It's nothing formal,
It's a
but
vibe
I,
there.
I think that's the perfect way to do it. And you just ask questions and it just becomes like 2 people getting to know each other, almost like you're on a date, right?
Yes.
And I fish for those little things to find out if they are like drama filled, or the things that are going to um kind of become, I hate to say it this way, but I will, like a cancer inside, right? Because it only takes one bad egg in order to spread to the next. Somebody who's really negative, really down about things, just has that overall toxicity that spreads faster than people realize too. So that one is who I really love to call in, if you will, to my practice for others that work with me.
I do agree with that. I mean, you cannot be in this kind of work and kind of risk the energy shift every
Mhm.
time you kind of bump into them at work or think about them at work. So I do agree with that. I just think it's sometimes, I mean, sometimes it's pretty clear that they're going to be drama, but I've had some squeak through that I wasn't expecting.
For sure. There are times when you're like, oh dear,
Yeah.
this has happened. Yeah. And
um,
what do you do about that? Right. So I
I
guess as a
mean,
business owner, there are times when you do need to draw a hard line sometimes or sit with somebody. And that's the tough part of the entrepreneurial aspect of what we're doing. Um, but hopefully, too, if you just are leading with the right foot and not kind of, I'll call it coming down to that level of negativity, then hopefully you can slowly start to bring them out. But it is something in my opinion, really need to watch for and look for in your growing practices.
mm. Another thing that is really, really top tier important to me is people who walk the talk and also do it in a like not only authentic but like achievable way. I'm not looking for like a set of Gwyneth Paltrow's. Like I want people like us who are trying our best to live these healthy, holistic, wellness-based lifestyles, but also, have friends and family and children and a real love of dessert. And so like that is to me important. Like I remember way back when I first had someone coming into my studio having to be like, obviously I want everyone to be eating throughout their shift and fueling yourself, but no fast food. Like that to me, that's a must. You have to kind of, at least while you're there, be showing it.
I agree. And it's again, like if we're all here for the same reason at the end of the day, not everything has to align 100% or you don't have to agree on all things all the time, but it's it's your reputation, right? I think that's maybe how I want to say what our business culture is. And if it's your business, do you want them to come in and smell poor McDonald's, but McDonald's, or Burger King, any of them, that fried food, right? Is that like something that's going to stick in their minds and they're going to share with somebody else? Do you want that to be part of your reputation, your culture, or not? So I don't think that's so wild of a, part of this equation at all.
Well, like you said, you kind of touched on a little bit. I think that is one of the hardest things with being in a position where you're, choosing other people to be part of your culture is sometimes it just feels like I'm rude. Like, and it's hard sometimes to say these things to people and, so.
It is. And I think the more that you are put in a position where you have to practice it, it certainly doesn't get easier, but there are ways to have these conversations tactfully as a fellow friend and not coming at them as like you did something wrong, but here's the shift in the perspective. Like this is why we don't here
Right.
and or this is why we do this thing in particular. I'm a super nerd geek and I love to have things outlined. So also part of my interview process is I have my culture on like a Canva outline to tell people like what my mission statement is, like my why behind being a holistic esthetician and why I've opened a spa and like the message that I'm trying to send and what I want people to trust not only me for, but also anybody that comes in. And so sometimes those little bit harder conversations can be put in there, right in black and white too, which can make the conversation, if it needs to come full circle, a little, at least a little bit easier to have.
That's really smart. It makes it a lot less, it makes, I'm sure for them, it makes it feel a lot less personal. So,
Right. Because
yeah,
it's
that's smart.
just, it's a fact. If you look at it as a black and white, it's here, it's outlined. Now there's a
Yeah.
little gray area when I am um, I call it a collaboration. I'm not an employer of anybody. Everybody that works with me, they're their own business. They're 1099. So there's not things that we can say like you can't have a uniform. We don't give them their hours. They pick their schedule. We also can't say what you can and can't have for lunch. And that's where this word culture comes into it. Like anybody that's seeking to work alongside of me, this is the culture that I'm looking to bring forward. And are you aligned with it? So I can also right off the bat make sure that, yeah, this is something I want to be a part of. This is great. This is cool. Or, oh gosh, no, I'm really into, you know, deep peels and
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Thank you. And then we know right off the bat too, right? Because my culture might not be for everybody, just like their McDonald Jesner peels are not for me either, right? So it establishes having it in black and white. And I don't think that's a deal breaker. Like, I don't think everybody has to have that, but I have found to get that information across the board, that's how I like to put it forward, just as a nice, pretty download that I can
Yeah,
send
that's a
them
very good
digitally.
idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll use
For
that.
me, part of my culture here is, and it's a little bit guest specific and it's a little bit team specific. And I have it in my notes in front of my Canva account. But and I tried to keep it short and sweet. And then under each category, like I expand upon it more so. But sanitation and safety is huge for me. I want you, when you go into a room, to make sure we're not looking at little cobwebs, nothing's spilled over, there's no like stains on the sheets. Like I want somebody to come into my practice and be like, wow, they keep this tidy, clean. Like I feel good coming into it. And that also means for us, we have the luxury of sinks in every room. And whether you've just washed your hands or not, like we wash our hands before, that's part of my culture, before you even put your hands on the body. It's just one more step into solidifying that trust aspect. So sanitation and safety is one of them. Another part of my culture is experiential excellence. That's a word salad, a little bit there, word phrase. But how can you take a traditional treatment and make it exceptional, right? How can you go from good to great? How can you go from great to better to excellent eventually? And constantly challenging yourself as a practitioner, not just to sit in the status quo, but constantly be seeking education or even just within your own environment. How can I elevate this, right? In anything that we're doing for touch, for sound, for all of the five senses. And then the third category that I am really all about, probably you are too with your wellness house, is team collaboration and support. Right? If there's something I don't do as a massage therapist, which is I now 22 years later choose not to do deep tissue, but I have an amazing deep tissue therapist right next the next wall over from me. And so not hoarding everything for myself, but kind of opening it to give almost permission, because I think sometimes our clients feel like, oh, well, I can't ever leave her. She's my massage therapist. We all collaborate and work and refer with each other. And then the last quickly is just professional representation, showing up how you want to be judged is not the right word, but that's the only word coming. Like how you show up is a direct reflection of your business, right? Do I have sweatpants, Uggs, and a messy bun, or am I showing up in which I mean I do that if I'm here cleaning. Don't get me wrong, it's not
Oh,
24/7,
cleaning
but
doesn't count. Cleaning doesn't
cleaning
count.
doesn't
Yeah,
count.
don't look at
But
me then.
when we are showing up for our guests, how are we representing the business as well?
Listening to these, I am in complete agreement with all of these. And it just is making me feel so blessed with the situation I'm in. Um, you know, three of the five other women that are within the house, they are long-term friends and long-term practitioners. And um, just the culture and the standards, and it's been very easy for us. And thinking about if I'm taking someone kind of just interviewing off the street, which I do have two women like that, they just have just seamlessly come into it. But I would say if anyone is thinking about growing bigger and is really taking this conversation between us and wants to keep going with it in their minds, I would say start collaborating now
Mm.
in that kind of more kind of entry point way with people. Because I think if I hadn't been either receiving services from these women in the beginning or giving services or collaborating on different little workshops or events or something like that over all these years, then now when this opportunity presented itself, I would not have the culture and the practitioners and the ease that we have now. So,
Yes.
really thinking about all your relationships as potential long-term relationships, I think, is where solo practitioners should start.
Absolutely. And we wanted to keep this talk short and sweet. So I'll end here and ask to make sure you don't have any last points to add into it. But on top of networking, I think that you also need to identify, like, if you were just to ask yourself, what do I want people to feel or experience when they come in or trust in my business, even as a solo? We'll start there because that's exactly where we started outside of the networking to continue to for that growth, but asking ourselves, what do we want our clients coming in to feel or trust in me? Once you identify those, you're then going to make decisions easier based on knowing that fact as well. um, and who you bring in is going to align more so. Who you're going to collaborate with is going to align more so. And that's also with products and what you're establishing for your business. But yeah, this one today was really short and sweet. But is there anything that you feel like we've left out, Angela? Anything you want to add?
No, I think this is just great fodder for people to just kind of bring the awareness and bring the consciousness to this, maybe in a way that they haven't before. It definitely sounds like something that we could come back around to one time, but I think just, yeah, like bring clarity to some of these ideas is really beautiful.
And I have a few questions I'm not going to ask here, but I'm going to add into the notes. This will land on Spotify and YouTube, and it'll just have a couple of questions to get you to start really thinking about this and how to begin implementing in small steps along the way. But thanks, Angela. I appreciate your time
So,
today. Of
thank
course,
you.
our time always flies by. It went fast, way faster than I thought it would. But thanks for chatting all things. Um,
Maybe not all things culture, but laying out the outline.
exactly.
Yes.
A good amount.
Yes.
Word slipped out of my mouth, so you came in right at the moment I
I
needed.
mean, maybe we can ask our audience if they would be interested in this, but maybe a conversation about collaborations, how we find them, what are some collaborations we've done before, how to work with other practitioners. Because I do think when you're a solo practitioner, it's very isolating and it can kind of feel like you don't know where to start finding your people.
And it can be intimidating too,
Yeah.
to be that first person to reach out. So I think that would be, yes, I'll put that question in anywhere this shows up as well. Or if you're on the holisticspaalliance.com, send us a message and we'll take any feedback and hold a community conversation around that soon.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Always a
Awesome.
pleasure.
Yes. Thanks, Angela. Have a great day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.